Good evening, everyone. It is 5:30. Let's call this meeting to order. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call to ascertain a quorum?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Here.
Member Heather Anderson.
Here.
Member Aaron Hamilton.
Here.
And Secretary Dottie McKinney here.
All right, we have ourselves a quorum. And if we can bring up that lovely flag onto the screen, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And here it comes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you so much. All right. We'd like to open up the floor for any public comment regarding any item on the agenda as posted. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your virtual hand and we will bring you into the panel. We'll give everybody a minute to find that button to find your virtual raise your hand. All right, I'm seeing no activity in the attendees panel. So we will move on to item number 3, which is the approval of the current agenda. I move to approve the agenda for the meeting scheduled for this evening, Tuesday, July 8th, as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. It has been so moved and seconded. Any corrections, changes, or otherwise, not to the agenda itself, but just any corrections that anybody noticed?
Yes. The meeting date is stated as June 24th, 2020.
Refresh your screen. We caught that.
Caught it. Okay. Apologies. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for finding that. Very good. I've looked at it pretty good too, and it seems to be in order. Any further discussion, board members? All right, discussion is closed. Ms. Dottie, would you please perform a roll call vote to approve the agenda for the meeting scheduled for this evening, Tuesday, July 8th, 2025, as presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Heather Anderson. Heather Anderson, can you hear me?
I can, sorry, yes. Before I do anything, I was not in attendance at the last meeting, so I think I probably should abstain from voting since I don't know about that. Mr. Molina, what is your comment on that?
No, that's fine. You can abstain.
Okay, I will abstain then.
But this is for tonight's agenda.
Oh,
so
for
maybe the
tonight's
next
agenda.
item.
Okay, for the next item, then yes, I
The
approve.
next item is a meeting. Yeah, I went ahead too. So you're talking about the meeting minutes. Correct?
Yes, not this one, but yes, for this one.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And Aaron Hamilton.
Aye.
Dottie McKinney. Aye. And Heather, did you vote?
Abstained.
Oh,
You are.
Sorry, she didn't vote.
for this.
She didn't vote yes. Yeah, she voted yes. So we have a unanimous approval of tonight's agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Moving on to item number 4, which is the approval of the meeting minutes from our recent meeting. So I move to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held June 24th, 2025. Any corrections that we need to address, folks? Oh, and a motion, please, or a second, please.
I'll second. I can
Thank
second.
you, Senor. So we properly moved and seconded this motion. Any changes, everybody? Getting ahead of myself. I'm so eager. All right. With no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held June 24th, 2025?
Yes, sir. Patrick Molina.
Yes.
Heather Anderson.
And this I abstain from.
Thank you. And Aaron Hamilton.
Aye.
Thank you.
And you, Dottie?
Aye. I apologize I've been typing.
Oh, I get it. I totally get it. All
I
right.
I
Very
apologize.
good. Very good. Thank you. 3, 4, and 1 abstained. Right into item number 5. We don't have any Finance Committee reports to review tonight because we're right in that transition from Axiom into the Vigil group. But we did invite, and this is a little bit of a blast from the past for me because when I first joined the board, the Vigil group was our business manager, and it's been a little while since I've seen Justine. So could we please promote her into the panel? Justine's just here to do a quick introduction. Justine, I'm probably the only one you might remember from the governing council back in the day. But Justine is outstanding. Really enjoyed her talents the last time she was with us. And there she is, Miss Veal. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Yes, I do remember you.
I had more hair back then. No, I didn't. Well,
Well,
introduce yourself, get yourself familiar with the board, and welcome aboard.
well, thank you. Yes, I worked, I think, with Explore Academy, I want to say 2 years ago.
Mhm.
This seems kind of like yesterday, time
Wow.
flies by, but yeah, so I am a co-owner, co-CEO of the Beho Group. Me and my husband own it together, and we purchased it from his father about 2 years ago. So I've been doing business management for about 13 years now, um, and we have about, I think, 26 other charter schools that we work with.
Wow. Outstanding. Very, very good. Yes, we about 2 years ago, the Vigil group came to us and said, and I think that was at that same time you all were transitioning and we were getting so big, and Justine's like, mm. But it seems like they have caught up and are right here with us to again. So thank you so much for accepting our offer to join us back. It is so great to have you back. One of the homework assignments I'd like to give you between now and the August meeting is to look at every single acronym on our finance reports and spell them out for the entire board. We're bringing on a new board member tonight, so the timing is perfect to go, the idea and the itters and all of that jazz. If we could spell all of those out for all of us, but especially our new board member who'll be joining, that would be superb because we have so many different funding sources that it's easy to get lost in all of the acronyms. So if you would
Yeah.
putting that together for us for the next meeting. And I'm
Okay.
guessing we're going to see year-end numbers next year. I know you're taking probably the next month to finish the transition.
Yeah, so currently, what's going on now is you guys were all on another financial system. I forget what it's called, but we will be using what's called ActiveFund, and you guys had that 2 years ago, and I think when the school first started. So we are transitioning now. What's currently happening now is I don't think me and my husband are kind of doing this together along with our payroll specialist. So I think our first priority was getting payroll out because our first payroll for the fiscal year 26 was or is July 10th. So that's kind of our priority now, getting bank access, all of that. As far as like reports, I haven't seen any numbers yet. Um, I'm hoping to have a report too for August. I
Okay.
just don't know how fast that's going to move. Um, I can't make promises, but I'm gonna do my best.
Wonderful. No, payroll, absolutely. Focus is on the right place. Yeah, and getting the systems aligned might take a little bit more than a month. So whatever you can provide us next month will be great, but we clearly know that there's going to be a little lag in the numbers. The good news is there's not a whole lot going on the next couple of months financially. There's no
Right,
bars or well, there shouldn't be any bars because I've approved them all, but
right.
that should be pretty smooth. So this is a good time. But
Yes.
folks, any questions for Miss Vigil? We have nothing to vote on here, but if you wanted to ask any questions, this is the time to do it. Well, Justine, you've
I always, sorry, I'll just say, I always beg for patience. So if you get an email that says Jake Colander and you're like, what is this guy up to? That's,
Okay.
and I
Well,
don't,
nice to meet you.
Oh,
nice to
yes.
meet you.
So Jake is our head administrator. The last time you were here it was Justin. Now we have Jake, and has come when he first started. He's like, I'm not sure I can spell finance, and now the guy's all over it like white on rice. So it's quite
Oh,
excellent.
good.
Um,
That's good.
so let me introduce everybody. Dottie McKinney is our secretary.
Okay.
I think when you moved on, Justine, that was my first year as the chair. So remember when I first started, I was a secretary. Dottie came in and saved me from that, and they decided it would be wise to make me the chair. That wasn't wise, but it is what it is. Aaron Hamilton, this is his last night with us. He is a Moss Adams guru, and he's going to be joining our finance audit committee, that smaller, shorter term committee. But this is his last night as a board member. And then Miss Heather Anderson is brand new to us, considering, and about a year now, right? Are we coming up on a year? Yeah.
It's close to a year, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Heather has children in the high school, right? They're all in high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the boys are in high school. Well, we've had one graduate so far. So a parent and a lawyer. So we have a really, really well-rounded board. And tonight we are going to discuss and hopefully vote on Mr. Bill Brown, who is a banker and finance, another banker type finance guru. So we're gonna keep that talent on board with Aaron's moving on. And we still have one board position open. And I see that Dottie would like to make a comment.
Yes, Justine, I wanted to let you know that years and years ago, I worked with your father-in-law at Los Lunas Schools. And
Okay.
I have the highest regard for him, so I wanted you to know that.
Well, thank you.
So not only is Dottie our secretary, but she's got like 35, 40 years of contracting experience with the state. So super, just a huge, deep well of knowledge when it comes to procurement. So like I said, I think we have a pretty well-rounded board and everybody pitches in pretty tight. So Justine, any questions for us before we can cut you loose and send you to dinner?
No, I don't.
All right.
It was nice to meet you all.
Yes, so glad to have you back. Welcome back, and we will see you next month with whatever you can cobble together.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty, ma'am.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Right into section 6 of our agenda. Mr. Colander, the floor is yours.
Well, that's exciting to get there at 5:42. I will actually start because I would like Ms. Vargas to also be able to go have dinner with her kids. But our new K-5 principal is joining us today, and I do believe was in the audience if we could promote her to the panel. So I'll do a very brief introduction, and then Ms. Vargas, of course, can speak for herself. But we were excited when we had made the decision to move forward with a different administrator. We followed a process similar to what we did at the high school, which was involving community members and staff. And it took maybe 2 weeks, I think, to get through the entire process. But I actually really enjoy how we have started approaching it, which included a resume review that was blind in terms of they didn't know who the applicants were because I took out any personally identifiable information. So they read resumes, they listened to phone interview screeners that I had put together, and then they were participants, they were witnesses to the interview. They sat in the audience, similar to what we do here at the board meeting, and watched the interview and then afterwards discuss. So the candidates that we went through, I was so happy and pleased that the team voted for and agreed on having Ms. Vargas join us as our new K-5 principal. I will let her introduce herself and her background a bit to you guys, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this coming year. So you can go ahead and take it away, Ms. Vargas.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see you again. I've met a few of you before. So I'm going to be the new principal. Well, I am the new principal. I'm in the contract right now, right, Jake? Yes, I'm very excited. I can't believe it, but I've been a teacher there for 3 years teaching kinder. I love the concept of the school, the flavors. I love the autonomy we have as teachers to do what we need to do with our kids. And when the position came open, I just decided to apply for it. And I did the process like Jake said, and now I was hired as the principal. And I'm working along with Jake. We talked about the objectives, the OKRs yesterday. I'm excited about the goals that we've set forth for the school for the next 5 years, as well as starting off slow to go fast eventually with teaching our teachers how to understand where their students are, and just building a community with our staff, our students, the parents, and even organizations in the neighborhood and throughout Albuquerque as well. I'm just really excited. So thank you for having me. Anything else you want me to add, Jake, or anyone? Any questions?
Well, I think your history as a kindergarten teacher is going to be very beneficial with working with Jake and me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah, thank
bonus.
you.
Thank you, Mr.
No,
David.
well, welcome. I got to meet you at one of the tours that we did.
Hey.
Congratulations on your promotion. We're looking for great things from you. And I think the implementation of OKRs that Jake is going through right now will be really quite beneficial. And I'm very familiar with OKRs.
Yeah.
I read the book that Jake read, but I also lived it for 7 years when I was at Intel. So I'm very
Mhm.
familiar with that process. We just didn't call them that. I don't remember what we called them, but it was so ingrained in the culture that
Uh-huh.
we did. So hopefully we can inject some of that
Right.
for Academy Albuquerque. So welcome aboard. Anyone else?
Thank you.
I just would like to welcome you, Jennifer. Looking forward to getting to know you this next year, Miss.
Thank you, Miss Dottie. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer, prior to coming to Explore Academy, where were you before that?
Before then, I owned my own business teaching online, but during COVID, I started doing that. And prior to that, I was in adult education. I supervised about 30 instructors and 10 teacher supervisors. I was in my late 20s at the time. Then I got married, moved here. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And while I was a stay-at-home mom, for about probably a good 5, 6 years, I decided to go get my master's in educational leadership because I knew I wanted to go back into leadership. So then during COVID, that's when I started my own business so I could stay home with my kids. And before that, I worked a few jobs, just part-time here and there, not really in education, just something to keep me busy while the kids were in preschool for a couple of days a week. And during COVID, I just fell in love teaching littles online. So one day I looked at my husband, I said, I'm going to go back and get my certification and I'm going into the classroom after COVID is done. And he was like, no, really? You're going to work? So I went back in and I just enjoyed teaching kinders. I just enjoy teaching, period. But my sweet spot is working with adults and leadership. That's really my sweet spot. And I never thought I would go back into leadership when I went into the classroom, but here I am and I'm really excited. So, and I have a great support system at Explore. So I'm really thankful for that with Jake, Lori, Julie. It's just a great community amongst the administration. So we're gonna push to get that feel back with our staff members. So we're excited, very excited.
I just wanted to say thanks for joining us tonight and looking forward to getting to know you.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Principal Vargas. Welcome aboard. Like I said, your kindergarten chops will be very helpful with working with Jake and me. Trust me.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. You guys have a great night. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Of course.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And as she mentioned, when she took the position, as you could probably tell just from her introduction, one thing that was key for us for the K-5 school was a rebuild of that school culture. They had, and we needed somebody who could bring that sort of sunshine with them into the classroom space, into the leadership space, and lead our teachers kind of out of whatever challenges they were facing and into some strong possibilities moving forward. So we were very happy that she applied, and certainly happy that she's joined us. We're going to talk. I see that in the next section on the general updates and reminders that Ms. Warner is going to talk about amendment requests. But I will add that we had a conversation Monday with Ms. Vargas about what this position that when we hired her was not on the horizon, what this amendment request will mean for her over the next 12 months. And it'll be, she's going to have to hold on with both hands for where we're about to head. Staffing updates and majors. So as you all know, one of the things that we had decided back in May was that we were going to reduce hiring. We were going to try to hire for maintenance as opposed to projecting for growth for hiring. And right now we are stuck in the crux of the challenge that brought with us. So we have had a couple of staff over literally since Monday. So it's been over since Monday morning, I guess. So maybe the last, 24 to 36 hours, we have had 3 staff that resigned from the 612. I think they had found positions earlier in the summer, maybe, but had finally decided at this point. But something that we're facing right now, because we are looking to hire them, is just we need to sort of find that sweet spot between the hiring that we need to bring teachers onto the campus um, to match the needs of our students. So our junior and senior class is actually bigger than in our previous years, and as they've been looking to enroll in classes, they've noticed that courses have quickly shut down because they're full. The class is filled up. I think the number that Mrs. Bayardo gave me today was that in the first 90 seconds of the one section of psychology major offered term 1, it was filled within the first 90 seconds from seniors alone. So juniors didn't even have a shot at that class. And that is sort of the unintended consequence of not bringing in those 4 core teachers that we had talked about to reduce the staffing at the 612 campus. I did ask Ms. Boatman, who is our director of logistics, I asked Felicia, what does bringing 4 more teachers do for us? And she said, honestly, the only thing we were able to cut were majors, because obviously the big push for students in our enrollment right now is in our middle school, our 8th and 9th grade. So those 300, 400 level courses and the 1 and 200 level classes are taking a priority just in terms of numbers. But in doing so, it ended up cutting majors. And I said, by how much? And she said, over the course of semester 1, it cut 80 sections of majors down just for those 4 teachers. She goes, if we brought those teachers in, the ripple effect would be opening up more sections of majors. So I spent today meeting with various people. I met with Felicia Boatman. I talked to Katia Pride about getting some better grip on where our numbers are. I talked to Alicia Bayardo and Justin about logistics. We've been sort of doing a circle around how do we close the gap between, we don't want to hire at this moment because if, as you all know, that there's going to be a lens on us. There's a large degree to which the PEC might move along because they've got a lot of charters to approve coming up, and a lot of schools that are going to take a lot of their attention more so than our school will per se. But we also got that approval. Again, Ms. Werner will go in more detail into that. We got that approval in contradiction to what the CSD recommended at the time. So I have a sense that we're going to have a bit of a microscope on us, and our finances will be something we'll need to keep very clean. So I'm hesitant to hire, but in not hiring, we end up risking that we have students, especially at the junior senior level, who aren't getting classes they're looking forward to, and that may have its own impact. So we developed a hiring plan today. I sent it out to a group and said, I want everyone just keep your eyes on it. If I don't hear back from them by the morning, I'm going to sort of executively execute that plan, which is we're going to hire, instead of four teachers, we're going to hire 2. We're going to look for those that are dual certified in social studies and English, math and science. We hired a great new math teacher, Gabriel Buhanda, whom I actually knew prior to him applying for Explore Academy. He was employed at Intel and at Sandia, and he unfortunately was sort of victim to the downsizing of things because he was in management positions. So his position was easier to sort of let go than others. But he's going to be great. We did lose over the course of the summer our engineering majors teacher. She moved to Tennessee with her husband for a job relocation. So we lost our engineering major, and our robotics major teacher moved, and those were big draws for kids. So finding people that can fill those gaps. But we also looked at, members of our directors team who might be able to step in and teach a class or 2 here or there, how we get some potential sold preps for teaching some extra sections of majors. We floated the idea of, similar to a university environment, what if a majors class, instead of 18 kids in the class, it had 36, but 18 of them met Mondays, Wednesdays. The other 18 met Tuesdays, Thursdays, similar to what they'll get in the university environment. None of those things have been solidified. These were all just ideas during a brainstorming session, because our goal is to make sure we find that good balance between, we want, of course, to fully staff our school, but we don't want to overstaff our school. We want to rely on having a little bit excess within our enrollment so that our operating budget at the end, we have some wiggle room to do some projects we'd like to do. And also making sure that we don't go so conservative that we're sort of killing our good graces with some of our parents of our upper division students who are saying that I need these majors, otherwise what's the point? You know, I had one mom that reached out that was just frustrated. She said, my junior has signed up for 2 classes and 5 flexes in term 1 because there just is nothing for him to take. The seniors sort of swamped it. So I know that Felicia Boatman has been working diligently late nights, early mornings to try to find some solutions and see where we can squish and expand. But it looks like probably over the course of the next week and a half, we'll be looking to make a few hiring decisions so that we can help offset that and get a good balance going of staff on campus to make sure majors are being offered, but not overstaffing to make sure we've got some wiggle room within our operating budget until we hit that 40th day. I do think, one thing that I'm impressed upon the group today is that tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about the OKRs for the school so you can look at what we're thinking about for objectives and key results. And if these look like something that the board is saying this looks like what we're wanting out of the school, then the next step is for me to also reach out to some key members on the director side of things to say, now I need this from you. Because as an example, if we're going to do a marketing plan for the next year that not only gets us where we need to be by the 40th day this year, but also then begins to anticipate the growth needed for next year simultaneously, some very clear objectives and key results will need to be identified so that I can keep track, so that I can keep you all in the loop of how things are going. So that's staffing majors. We're working on that, but I ended up typing up a plan maybe at 12, sent it to a team and said, tomorrow, if you don't give me feedback by tomorrow morning, I'm going to move forward with this. So keep your eyes on it in case there's anything that you see that's drastically needs to be changed. In terms of the gym update, semi-positive news, which is as good as we can get when it comes to the gym right now. What I got informed was that everyone has signed the agreement, so all signatures are there. I think out of the 14 parties that had a monetary contribution to pay in for their component, I think of the 14, I was told that 10 have already got their money put in that escrow account for distribution. So we're waiting on 4 people to pony up their money, and then things can start flowing for us to work on that gym. Something that you all should know, because I think it's important to be transparent. Of course, AIC is the default organization. They were the ones that initially had built it, so they were the ones that are anticipating having a bid in on that. But I am encouraging the foundation to look for some other bids and see what other options we have out there. I'll give you an example of a recent circumstance with our kitchen. The kitchen was installed per the design plan, and following that, we found that there were 3 different units that need to be plugged into 240 plugs, that there were no plugs built for. There was some missteps in the wiring for the box that was installed to run all the electrical to the new kitchen equipment. And we essentially were told this was not in the design plan. It's going to cost you extra if you want us to install those plugs and do the extra work here. So we did get a quote. It just coincidentally exceeded the $20,000 mark. And so we said, well, we need to go out to get 3 additional quotes. And the one that came in yesterday, as opposed to 23,000, came in at just over 11,000. And that actually, the difference of that paid for the removal of those dead trees in front of the masthead campus. It paid for the coolant we're needing to purchase for the units on the roof of Galton to make sure air conditioners are up and running by the 21st. Essentially, by cutting that bill in half, it helped cover some other expenses that we were taking on. So in terms of the gym roof, we're also probably going to be reaching out to see what other group could we utilize. I think AIC has done some great work for us in the past. I think there's also areas in which we feel they fell short. And so all that is starting to get the ball rolling now that those signatures are on paper. That was the last major hurdle. Then money's going to start moving, is what the update I was recently given. Okay, so if it's okay, any questions about any of that before I move on to OKRs?
So, Jake, I have a quick question if that's okay.
Sure.
Some of this is coming from what I've heard from my son, who is going to be a junior, and through his friends about the staffing issue. He, like a lot of students, and you mentioned this, are frustrated with their ability to sign up for classes that not just that they want, but that they need for requirements to graduate. So I'm wondering if you have any plans to add courses to help them get the courses they need, or if the students are going to have a difficulty meeting requirements for graduation.
No, I think that's a great question, but that's absolutely the plan. The reason why we're thinking of bringing in those 2 other teachers is that would add 40 different sections of majors over the course of the first semester, which would broaden it. We have some majors that filled up, like the psych major, I think also, as an example, the forensics major filled up quickly. Those classes we're saying, well, can we double? Can we open up a second section of the same major? So for the teacher, it's not additional work to prepare for it. They're just teaching 2 sections in term 1 as opposed to 1 section in term 1.
Okay. Okay, great.
So absolutely, that's exactly what we're aiming for, is we want to be able to open up more classes so that kids do have those options and they can get the things they're looking for. One thing I was told today, so this is insider trading right now. I was told today is when they cap those classes and they shut down, they do it under so they'll cap them at 16 when kids enroll, so it leaves space for 2 or 3 afterwards. So when we have a junior or senior that says, I need this class to move forward, the recommendation, and this is what will go out to parents once I get some solid answers, this will probably go out tomorrow to parents or Thursday, is that if you've got a schedule where you know there's a needed class and you're not seeing, please make an appointment with our scheduler, because they have ways to get them into the classes that they're needing. It's just that they try to reserve it specifically for those reasons, because some kids take classes that they don't necessarily need, but they're ones that they want. And other kids are saying, but I got to have this one to move forward. And they'll have left room in there to meet those needs. And so that also will be something that we'll share with parents.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you.
Of course.
So that's like red carding into a class, for those of you who remember that. Huh?
I don't know that reference.
You don't know that reference? Oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah, red card, baby. All right. Excellent. And now roll out some OKRs that apparently I don't have access to because it says I'm not permitted. So that's okay. I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt. It's okay. You're going to share
I'll screen share for this evening. So to allude to what Patrick was saying in terms of his exposure to it, I never had. And one thing that I felt last year, as you all saw when we closed the school year out, and in my reflection that I gave as part of my end of year work, as I said, we just didn't seem to ever hit the nail on the head with these goals that we had set. And so I started doing some homework on where successful schools, successful institutions, what did they utilize for goal setting measures? And I happened upon a TED Talk on objectives and key results. I watched it. It was dry as all get out, but also like equal parts dry and exciting. Because as I heard it, I thought there's a simplicity here where I must be missing something. So I bought the book and I started reading it, and I jumped in with Patrick and I said, this is the book, man. And I'm like 30 pages in. I think we were sitting at lunch and I started talking about it. And he goes, and what page are you on? And I said, yeah, there's a simplicity to it as well as a complexity. And I felt that where we need to go as an institution, we have a couple of things that are in front of us. Number one, I do think that as a school, our role is to maintain the standards and quality of education that we have always done. That was one thing that came out in the PEC hearing around the enrollment cap, is that our academics are unassailable, and I don't want to make them assailable. So how do we ensure that we're keeping our eye on what our academic goals are? How do we get more transparent with teachers, students, and families what our aim is for the school year? What are we working on as a community and as a school? And also, how do we get back to the roots of what our mission has helped to establish? And so those 3 principles are what helps design the objectives, which are big scale things. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with this framework, so I apologize if I'm spewing out information that you're familiar with, but for me, it's good to recap. But the objectives are sort of the large, overarching, this is the mission-driven aspect of what it is that you are trying to achieve. Key results are those smaller SMART goals. They are time-bound, they are measurable, they are flexible, so that if you have a SMART goal and we're in the middle of quarter 2 and we're saying this key result doesn't work, we swap key results. If we meet it early, we add another one and keep going with it. But it also broadens it in its transparency, so that teachers in their professional development plans can tie back to our objectives, which will streamline the teacher plans. Our work in domains 1 and 4, which in Elevate, what that means for our teachers. Domain 1 is your planning. That's how teachers are evaluated on their ability to plan for the classroom. Domain 4 in Elevate is teachers and their professionalism. Domains 2 and 3 are the classroom instruction, so that we're leaving alone. But 1 and 4, we can begin to look at differently based on what we've designed for objectives. So I have 2 documents linked on here. I will actually share screens if that's okay with what I refer to as the printer-friendly version, because I like that one. Let me make sure, I may need to find that real quick. I don't know why I'm not seeing that one when I go to share screens. I apologize. Let me take one more second. Okay. So a couple of driving factors behind this, as I said, what at the core of what we're doing academically as a school do we need to go back to? And I will share with you as the board that when we do informational sessions, and we do one a month from about October through March. So, and sometimes two a month. And so we have groups of parents that come in. We've done it for several years now. And the consistent thing that I ask parents to do is I say, read our mission statement and tell me what stands out to you in terms of, what do you see in our mission statement that you point out to as something that stands out? And the same three things come up every time, almost without fail: unique educational experience, personalized instruction, and college preparation. Those three aspects of our mission stand out every single time with every group of parents, no matter the month or time of year. That's what shows up. And so when it came to our objectives for the year, I said, so what is it that parents want to see? Well, first of all, college preparation. So our academic objective, what does that look like at the K-5 level? Well, I think our objective really is to say we want to have all of our students on grade level in reading and math by fifth grade. And so the objective written says we will be at the top of elementary schools for having students on grade level in reading and math. Gives us a little wiggle room if we don't hit 100%. But it says it has this sort of big goal of grade level. When I met with our directors of instruction and instructional coaches back in June, when I started writing these, I said, what percentage of our staff that you've worked with do you think could name which kids are on grade level and which ones aren't? And that number is actually relatively low. And for the data that I shared at the end of year, our iStation results also indicate there was a lack of growth in some of the areas that we felt there needed to be. So as Jennifer Vargas mentioned, let's get back to some basics. The first celebration that all of our teachers should get is, do you know where your kids are in reading and math? If you don't know whether they're on grade level, then that's step one, because if you don't know that, then how do you provide interventions and instruction to raise their scores? So our reading objective is to establish a reading assessment that's not automated, but actually involves teachers sitting one-on-one with students, which we're going to be utilizing the letters screener, which letters is a required training for all elementary students or all elementary teachers. So the letters screener is something we'll be utilizing. We will pull our end of year iStation data, and then we're going to be implementing the San Diego Quick, which has a grade level vocabulary reader. Lucy King is very familiar with it. She's our director of instruction for K-5. She'll be working with Lori Adams to make sure she's trained. And then quarter one will be, let's train our staff how to utilize it, because it means them sitting in front of a student one at a time, having them read, scoring where they're reading, where do they see hiccups, and then being able to work forward and backward to really solidify if they're at grade level. If I'm a teacher and I've got a fourth grader at a second grade reading level, number one, I need to know that. Number two, I'm terrified because I don't want the principal to think I'm not doing my job. And I said, so let's start with just celebrating the fact that this kid's 2 grade levels behind. That's a win right there, because you didn't know that before, and now you do, and now you can do something about it. So our first set of key results are specific to gathering that information and ensuring that we know exactly where our kids are, because this becomes how we also support parents. If I know that, I have, Aaron Hamilton in my class and he's a fourth grader, but he's reading at the fifth grade level, then when I've got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday where he's at home, I can recommend titles to parents of take him to the library. These are books that are at the level that he's reading, and those can help support him to move into sixth grade. Whereas if you got Jake Colander in the class and he's a fourth grader reading at second grade level, I need to use different titles. I can't just hand him fourth grade books. It's not going to work. So this will help support our literacy night. Will help support it through the school library that we're receiving money from. Our PTO actually did a sort of a spontaneous fundraiser and got $3,000 for us to buy the equipment to do barcoding and tracking of books so we can have a school library. There's a lot that we put behind this to say this is a year of literacy and knowing. And similar for math. Our math assessment, there's, again, Lucy King put together what she refers to as her universal math foundation screener. I can take kids through a series of problems, and if they can't get through the first half, I take them back a year. If they blow through them, I take them forward a year. And at the end, where I land is knowing where my kids are with math foundation. There isn't per se an equivalent grade level with that, but this gets us as close as we can. And again, that is one-on-one time with students that our teachers have to draw those assessments in. So we're no longer going to be relying solely on automated assessments that change from term, which iStation changes assessment every single time they take it. It's a quartile function test. It produces, if a kid gets the same score every single time and it looks like a flat line, that means they've grown, which is counterintuitive, but it's how iStation is built. So we wanted something more hands-on with kids. And then for our 6 through 12, we said our core academic, what is the mission of our school? That our students are college ready. So what does that look like? In the past, as you saw last year, the goal was around seminar pass rate, which is it's a good tool, but if you emphasize passing with teachers, they will do what it takes to make sure kids are passing. And what that unfortunately looked like in some classrooms was that the quality of what students were doing in flavor assessments was diminishing. They were becoming so easy to pass because, well, the flavor assessments are simple, but even if they don't do so great on the core assessment, those combined will equal a passing grade. And look, I hit your 85% of my kids are passing. But really, passing is not what we're interested in. I don't think that's not what our mission says. Our mission says kids will be ready for college. So how do we do that? So we went through and researched what are the cut scores that identify college ready. On every assessment, our kids will take 6th grade through 12th grade. So that's IMASA, NMSSA, the PSAT, the SAT, the ACT, and the AccuPlacer. And with those cut scores, we say, well, there should be a mirror. If 90% of kids are passing seminars, but only 70% can show college ready on one of these assessments, then there's something that's amiss because they're passing at a much greater rate than their college readiness would indicate. So let's get those to start looking like one another so that hopefully if we're saying, 90% of our kids are passing their seminars and 100% show college ready, I think that actually tilts itself in the right direction to ensuring that it's not just about passing, but it's about the rigor and quality of education. So that requires data gathering tools. So that goes slow first to go fast means we have to pull together every student's individualized assessment score for this, as well as their pass rate, and start correlating that data. But my goal is to get that by Q1 set up so that we can have real conversations in our PLCs when if those numbers start misaligning. Our community objective, we said, well, this has always been the goal, which is increase the exposure and reputation of EA to develop community partnerships, new educational and career-based opportunities for students, and to become a place that attracts educational visitors and new teaching talent. This will be the first year that we have teacher residents from UNM that will be joining us. So that is our foot in the door of beginning to foster and develop new teaching talent. But also we want greater visibility. And this is one of those areas where the OKR, the objective and key results for our director of marketing is going to be significant because part of this is how do we get our names out there? So when I talked through this with the principals, I said, first of all, we need to get ourselves in with positive stories in local media. We hit the media when things tend to be not going so great, but we need to be hitting the media when things are going really well. So how do we get that done? That's where we lean on our director of marketing. We want hits on our community event calendar. So that's going to be our activities director, Karen Cassidy, who's our athletic director, is going to be assisting Richard Hilkema, who's our activities director, with saying, let's get our community event calendar full and let's start tracking hits to see who's looking at what events are coming up at our school. I told the principals they are each responsible to find 2 events other than Fall Festival that draw in 100+ participants. So they were thinking, well, let's do open houses, back to school events. Let's do something that brings families in. And, Anthony Branch, when he and I were talking, he said, I think an open house in September is the right time to hit. It lets teachers meet families and students and parents to meet the educators, but it also is prior to our 40th day and can draw people in. And that combined with the last of those bullet points, which is recruit at least 10 local businesses to participate in school events or initiatives by the spring, means that maybe our neighboring businesses around us have a table at our open house and at our fall festival and at whatever those other events will be, where we're getting exposure to them, they're coming to the school, and we're beginning to build out that community reputation of not just being a standalone school at the end of a cul-de-sac, but an institution that brings in the community around them. And then finally, because I know this is getting long-winded and I apologize, our retention objective. This is the one that I had the most fun with because our retention objective last year did miserably, to be frank. And at the end of the day, I said, so what's missing? What aren't we measuring? And it's the invisible that we're not measuring, because we have told parents that personalized education, unique pathways, to us, that equals kids come to our school to find their passions and their interests. That's what is attractive of flavors. That's what's attractive in majors is I'm passionate about this and I get to do it at Explore Academy. And it may not always be classes. It might be a club that they're a part of. It might be that they get access to travel for high school credits, something that says this is something I'm passionate about and I love. But how do we measure that? So that's our work ahead of us. So there are actually two objectives that align with retention. The first one is to develop more transparent measures of seeing if students are discovering their interests and passions. And I had a series of key results that are all designed to be completed by January so that we can reevaluate where we are on those results. But it may completely flip. For those of you who are parents at the school and you've seen those parent surveys, those are going to start looking different. The student surveys that kids fill out every term are going to start looking different. Because I said, if we're going to do this, we need our tools to change so that we're asking not just questions, but the right questions to know whether kids are having this met. And then our second objective, of course, is to create visible and accessible pathways for educational exploration. And again, we have key results that are designed to broaden out by the time we hit the end of the first semester. I will share with you that when I spoke to the principals about this, both of my principals got excited for the community goals, the retention goals. My instructional coaches, my directors of instruction are excited for the academic goals. They feel like this is very mission driven. And I said, at the end of the day, I would be excited to be a teacher who's brought to a school that says, you got two things to focus on. Kids are college ready by the time they leave your class, and they love what they're doing, and they want to show up every day. And if you can prioritize that and we can measure that, now we have kids that want to be at this school because they love being at the school. And it's not just lip service that we're one of the top performing schools. It's evident that we're a top performing school. So for me, this helps to align what we're trying to do. I coordinated with directors so that by the time teachers see this on the 21st, I'm on board. Hopefully you all will be on board with this. Our principals are on board with it. Our directors are on board. So now the messaging is all similar and we begin rowing the boat in the same direction. Questions on OKRs?
No, I think it's important for folks here to understand that those key results, those bullets underneath, are a starting point. And what's really neat, if Jake, did you read the whole book? Did you make it through the entire book?
I did. I'm in the section on the formative conversations that administrators would do with staff. I'm in that section.
Okay. So here's the cool part about it is if one of those key results isn't measuring what we want it to measure, there's nothing written in stone. The key result owners and Jake can talk about this. We're not measuring the right thing. We thought we were, but it's not the right thing. They can actually change that. And are you going to do red, yellow, green on this? Some of the numbers
Yeah.
like okay. So
Yeah.
there's another level in there. And a lot of the numbers, like the percentages that he put in there, 70%. I can't remember which one it was, Jake, but one of them was 70%. That is a green. So a key result doesn't have to be 100% everywhere, which is something that was, I'm not sure, beaten into us by corporate, but it's either you win it or you don't. And I think wins come in different flavors and different numbers, right? So an A isn't 100. An A is from 90 to 100, right? So when you look at key results, the what defines a green, a yellow, and a red can change depending on the importance of that key result and what we think a passing score is, right? And a passing score could be a 60, and that may be awesome if we've been doing 10. So understand as we go through and learn how objectives and key results work. I think it'll be interesting for the board to learn how all of that works and how it progresses. And it is a living methodology. OKRs they're not written in stone, and if you miss, you miss, and if you pass, you pass. It is you're not only looking at the results, but you're making sure that the results you're getting are living up to the objective that was stated. So it's really, really interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing it in action. But these are beautiful. Having read the book, and again, I lived this at Intel. These are exquisitely done. Really, for a first shot, this is excellent. So
Thank you. And I think some of the benefits it lends itself to, as you're suggesting, is that number one, it hits at the heart of the mission. And what was frustrating for me, I think I might have mentioned before to you all that as a teacher, my 19 years before I got to working in administration, I never really knew what our administrators' goals were. I see that on our agenda, for instance, this evening, we have charter goals. I've worked in charter schools now for the majority of my career. I never knew what the charter goals were. I didn't know what my head administrators were trying to achieve. And part of what the sort of the mentality around objectives and key results is these are transparently out there. So the printer friendly version is specifically so that we can have these hanging in the office. We can have them in the hallways. We can take snippets of it and I can share with you guys, because it's a very, on the key result, it's a very simple resolution. It says, I'm going to achieve this by the end of the fall. And when you all meet with me in January, it is a yes or a no. I did it or I didn't. And if I didn't do it, then let's redesign the key result. But ultimately, the objective is staying as a cornerstone of what we're building towards, which even gives our teachers the chance to say, I know now what administration's asking of me. I had done a presentation with our principals at our retreat where I talked about generational differences. I might have mentioned to you all that the result of that survey, which I think 92 teachers from the campuses of the different Explore Academies in New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada, the result of that survey indicated that the number one cause of burnout for teachers, regardless of their generation, were unclear expectations from their administrators as to what they were supposed to do. How do I show my excellence as a teacher? Because if I don't know, then I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. And what if I put a lot of effort into something and at the end of the day, they're not even measuring whether I did well on that or not? So these make it very transparent with teachers. When I say you're building your PDP, pick one of these three objectives and go at it. And we'll be checking in to see how you progress and play with it and be creative and think outside the box for these kinds of things. Because ultimately, if those key results are met, then it's sort of in a logical premise will equal conclusion if premises are valid. If the key results are met, then that objective will be met.
This may very well turn into a charter school conference topic next year, because linking the mission to objectives and then having a way to measure that is absolutely critical, because we stand up in front of the PEC and we tell them what our mission is and they're like, this sounds great. And then I think a lot of charter schools flounder. They think they know what and they're trying to become a spotlight school, but they don't have a connection between the mission and what they're trying to achieve and a proper way to measure it. So very, very interesting. And welcome to OKRs, everybody. It is exciting and it is indeed a learning process. We will absolutely make mistakes. We will learn what works and what doesn't work by going through this process, as will the teachers. And there may be an occasional frustration, but this gives everybody the opportunity to fail in public and watch everybody else jump in. So one of the things that there's several vignettes in the book that talk about one department was really struggling to hit their key objectives. Other departments, seeing it, jumped in to help. It wasn't like, sucks to be you. It was, oh my gosh, they're not going to hit it, which means I might not hit it. So it was an all hands on deck activity. And because it is so transparent and so visible to the community and to the faculty and to the staff, that if somebody's slipping, others will should jump in to help. And that's that culture piece that I think Jennifer wants to bring back to the K-5 arena, and that we need to develop in our students as well. And I think that's where the Fridays come in very handy on students who are missing out, who are not hitting their own goals, can get help. So it's going to be really neat. So but earlier Jake had mentioned patience is key, and patience will absolutely be key, but at least we now know what to be patient about. So very interesting. Any other comments or thoughts with regards to the OKRs? Yes, ma'am.
I think it's a great plan, Jake, and it's going to be exciting this year to see the birth of this tremendous idea and project. So I'm glad to hopefully be on the board another year with you guys.
Oh, you're not going anywhere, Dottie. You're not going anywhere. I'm just serious. Okay.
Well, and it becomes crucial to, as we talk, in this next section, when Karen presents, this information, when we're talking about expansion, like all of these things need very thoughtful and time-bound steps that have to be taken in coordination with one another. Because as Amy, you have, I'm thinking about expanding the K5 will mean a new facility, and that's work for our director of IT to ensure Wi-Fi is up and running, our facilities director to make sure grounds are where they need to be. It's a construction team getting it up and going by the time we're ready to. It's all those pieces moving together, and this at least provides sort of a universal framework under which people can work, and that frankly, when I'm with you guys in our board meetings, I can report back on specifics. Are we achieving the things that we set out? And if we're falling short, where? If we're measuring the wrong thing, what are we going to measure instead? And if we're finding successes, let's celebrate those because it will be evident that we've achieved them. Because the measurements are not set a goal in August and then fingers crossed until May to see if we achieved it.
Right.
It's not that. It's a lot of little steps along the way that we can celebrate, rewrite, be flexible about whatever. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments, thoughts for Mr. Colander before we move on to our next agenda item? All right. Very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Colander. Outstanding. And yeah, reading those just, man, that is coming right out of the gate. Those are excellent.
Thank you. I did
Very
update
good.
permissions. You should be able to, you also be able to access them now. I updated the permissions.
Thanks.
Now
It's no longer protected information. All right. And now we move on to general updates and reminders from our talented Miss Karen Warner.
Thank you, Chair Molina. Mr. Coland, I just wanted to say, just confirm, I added to the agenda, it's objectives and key results is what OKRs are, correct? Okay, so I added that to the agenda just because I've heard Chair Molina ask us to avoid acronyms, and I had to go look it up and make sure it was right, but I think that's right. So thank you.
Not to
Also,
avoid them, but to make sure we understand what the heck they mean the first time they're introduced.
absolutely, I don't disagree. We get sort of bogged down in any industry with
Yes,
acronyms, and
all day long.
you know, my husband works at Sandia, and sometimes he uses these things, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so I get it. Also related to that, I just wanted, before I go into my things, if you don't mind, I just wanted to comment, Jake, that as part of that package you're working on, I think a graduate profile work this year is going to be important, and it's kind of directly connected to what you were just talking about. But we are board members required through legislation to develop a graduate profile of what a graduate of Explore Academy is to look like. And I think that that fits right in with what Jake was just sharing along the lines of what we expect of our graduates. So we've been advised that by the end of this next school year that we have a graduate profile that will be submitted to the PED, and I think they're going to share everybody's whatever. But that's important. And also related to that same bill was some graduation requirements, and I neglected to include it on this agenda. But coming in August, we're going to be discussing graduation requirements. As you probably know, every few years there's a bit of changes, and it goes with the appropriate cohorts. So those already on the path don't change, but ninth graders coming in this year have a little bit different requirements, and they do have two units that the board is supposed to decide. And we have some strong recommendation in that area that aligns with the mission, and that would be around the majors courses. So I didn't put on the agenda, so we can't discuss and decide, but it will be next month. I just wanted to mention it because it ties quite nicely into what Jake was just talking about. Moving on to my section. Jake, you can certainly speak to the amendment request. I just wanted it noted on our agenda and in our recording and in our minutes that the amendment requests we brought before the PEC were approved. So both the facility addition that includes the gym and the black box theater, although once those are finished, we have to submit the appropriate facilities documents, e-occupancy and such, but that they have approved that extension or addition, including the classroom space that we'll be using already. But so that was approved. And then of course the big ask around expansion for an enrollment cap of 3,750 was approved barely. I thought we were going to lose that one, but it was a 5-4 vote. And I think I did text all of the board members during that meeting. But regardless, I just wanted it noted in our agenda and in our minutes that those were approved. So Jake, you are welcome to speak to it. I wasn't trying to steal any thunder there. just wanted it noted for the record.
Let's see. I'm thinking of my Dickensian introduction about the best of times and the worst of times. And um, I will just say this: Patrick and I think, and Katia was there as well. Karen, with I could see Karen in the screen of the background as she was sort of helping to guide from the back a bit as well. But there was a ton of work and effort put into this process, and I appreciate everyone who contributed to it. I joined virtually from my hotel room in Denver, and Patrick, I think they took a break when we hit hour 2 of going in circles. Highlights and lowlights. The lowlights were that those who had concerns really clung to the audit findings that we had as a school. They clung to a history of, I think the language that Chair Burt used to describe it was that Explorer Academy always feels just one step behind where they need to be when it comes to their finances, and they're playing catch up every year is kind of think how she sort of worded that. And so I think they are keeping an eye on those things with us. But as I mentioned, we were unassailable in our academics, and our intent was to sell. I think Patrick did an amazing job of laying out this is why we want to do it. He utilized the framework from the charter conference to frame out the comments there, talked about the finances and what were the steps we're taking to improve those. And my role was to lay out the program. This is what we're hoping to achieve with a charter cap increase. I stayed away from the narrative that there was a narrative sort of design that number one, we are trying to get a building, and so that's our justification for increasing the cap. And I try to say that that isn't at all. We're trying to actually better the program. It just so happens that it coincides with the potential for a facility that would make that work for us. And we spoke to their concerns and questions as best we could. And I will leave it with this and let Patrick share his thoughts as well. That one of the commissioners, and I feel terrible that I always butcher her last name, but I'm guessing that's probably a common occurrence. But her first name is Sharon. Yes, she's a wonderful person. I think it was actually, of all the things that were said, I'm going to guess hers was the one that stood out to me the most and may have had the greatest impact on this vote going the way that it did. Because she mentioned that the first big step in public education reform was the Charter Act, which allowed for schools to open up and be innovative and try things that district schools either weren't doing or were too big, and sort of moving, I guess, using nautical metaphors there, Chair Molina, moving a big ship takes a long, wide range for it to get where it's going. And that's what districts can feel like. But charters are much more nimble. And that's the first great step. And she said the second big step in educational reform is this right here. Because this is the first time a charter school, especially in New Mexico, will be of the size where it can compete with the district. And she said, and that's exciting to think what that potential could be. And I did my little research afterwards. The largest charter in the country is in Los Angeles, and it's just over 4,000 students. So we potentially not only will be the largest in New Mexico, but the second largest in the country. So there will be a spotlight on us. There will be people looking to see, does this work or doesn't it? We're sort of the forerunners of the grand experiment here in New Mexico. And I felt that her words were very moving and thoughtful. And it's what I clung to when the votes started. And the first vote was a yes, and the next 4 in a row were a no. And then the next 4 in a row were a yes. So it was quite the swing of emotions, but it did pass 5-4 and counter to the CSD recommendation. But we all owned that our work is cut out for us. And we have, right, as Robert Frost said, we have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep.
Indeed.
If I may, I just want to add that it was Commissioner Chachachilich's comments that actually changed one vote. So we would have lost had she not been so impactful with her words. So Commissioner Beck actually, after voting yes, which when we were 4-4, I was like, we lost because Beck already said he was voting no. And then he changed and said yes. And so afterward, he even shared that it was her comments that changed his mind. And so she was pivotal to that decision. So,
Absolutely.
and to Chair Molina had told me that she doesn't say very much, but when she does, before the meeting, he had told me that, but when she does, it's very thoughtful and impactful. And he was right on the money about her. So.
Yes, it was an honor to sit there and present our school to the PEC. It was a very, very long, I was not anticipating it going that long. Thank goodness we had the break because I had to renew my parking because I didn't book enough parking for a meeting that went that long. and they recognized our accomplishments over and over again. They really clung to the financial piece, which is why you see on the agenda an establishment, hopefully we'll vote that on tonight, of a standing finance committee. Nothing is going to change in this meeting. We're going to see every report like we always have, but I'd like to have a couple of sets of eyes outside of this meeting to make sure that everything is squared away, right? To help the V Hill group transition back in. And then as we start to transition to an internal process, make sure that everything is tight. A couple of those findings over the last 3 years have been due to a transition, and I don't think we're going to get that grace again from the PEC, nor should we. We're a spotlight school, and we should be a spotlight school, not just academically, but financially, operationally, and logistically. We should be a spotlight on all of those, not just the academics. At the end of the day, the academics is why we're here tonight. But I think everything underneath that needs to be equally as outstanding and consistent. So, and I made that promise to them at the meeting is we will get our business squared away, because that's where we are not the strongest, is in the business operations. So we will get that squared away, because I promised them we would, and they're going to hold us to it. But I also think that they know we are going to get it. I could see it in their eyes, like, okay, they're making promises, but a lot of the charter schools that sit up here, this one's going to deliver. So I'm pretty confident we are indeed going to deliver. So, and it'll be our job as a council to make sure that happens. So, but it was an honor. It truly, truly was an honor to be there and to address the PEC and answer their questions. And most of the time in other meetings that I've attended, a board member will be there, but the head administrator does 80 or 90% of the talking. I would say Jake did about 79%, and I did the last 21. So I'm a little bit better than normal. But I think we made a great team. And beforehand, Jake and I talked about me being sort of the coordinator. So when a question came in, either I would take it or I would hand it off to Jake or Katia, so that the best person with the best information was answering it. And it did look very coordinated. I thought that even the no's were impressed with the fact that we were well prepared and stood our ground. So it was great. And it really was lovely. I wish we had one or two more yeses. But I think the no's wanted to let us know that they are expecting us to deliver consistently and better than normal, better than standard. So thank you all. And Dottie, thank you for coming up. It was great to see so many faces in the audience supporting us as a school. So I think that speaks volumes to the PEC, that it's not just one or two, head administrator and a curious board member. It was a united effort. So thank you again for the opportunity, everyone.
Yeah, in fact, one commissioner actually afterwards said that he was glad it was approved, even though he voted no. Go figure. Okay,
Yeah.
so moving on. Mandatory training requirements. I'm just proud to announce that you all have completed them. Thank you all very, very much for getting all that done for SY25. And as for mission specific goals, I'm happy to answer any questions, but in summary, the results are linked on the agenda. I've submitted them on June 30th. They were due July 1st. And as you may recall, at the last meeting, I didn't have all the data for broken down by grade level or course level, nor by grade level at K-5. But we've exceeded the goal overall on both goals, and it's on the agenda there. So I don't really need to go over it much with you, but I would point out, Jake, especially for you, that the results sheet does have a breakdown by course level as well as by grade level in the K-5. That might be interesting analysis for your principals in terms of pass rates at different points or amount of surveys that are coming in K-5. We couldn't really do 6 to 12. If you remember, Chemelina, when we were negotiating these, the PEC asked specifically for breakdowns by grades, and we agreed to do by course level because our grades, it's a lot harder to do. So
Right.
we did do it by the 100, 200, 300. But I think what was important to note is that the overall score is overall but it is an interesting exercise perhaps in looking at where some of the which course levels had less of a pass rate. Some of that may not be surprising, but I think that it's worth the administration looking into. But in terms of our mission goals, we have exceeded them both. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Any questions? Well, thank you everyone for getting your training done, and we're at 0. As of the 1st, we are all set back to 0. So now we have our continuing ed. For those of us who were able to attend the conference, hopefully you earned a few. I think I earned 3, probably 2 of them in the same discipline, but thank you all for getting that done. That is a contract renewal expectation, and the PEC is not happy, even for 1 year. If one board member misses, that is a sticking point for them. So it's an important metric for us to hit year over year. So very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Colander, Ms. Warner, for the updates. Thank you. Thank you. We're on to item number 7, which begins with the investigation into the potential FERPA violation mentioned during the public comment at our last meeting. So where do we stand with that?
Chair Molina, I believe that the public comment was actually made at 2 meetings ago, and at the last
Okay.
meeting, Member Hamilton asked that we put it on the agenda for a decision. So I think what we would be asking is potentially a motion, if the board is so inclined, to charge Jake or the school to do an investigation into that FERPA violation that was mentioned. I think the idea is to do it for the board to decide if they want to proceed with that. Is that right, Member Hamilton? You asked to have this on the agenda. Yeah. So I think the suggestion was that we bring it to the board for a decision. Do you
Super.
want to actually charge the school with investigating that
All right.
comment?
Then let's open it up for a motion.
Do you want me to do that?
Sure.
All right. So I move that we open an investigation, headed by this school, to look into the potential FERPA violation that was mentioned in the public comment section of a board meeting 2 meetings ago.
Second. All right. It has been properly moved and seconded to open an investigation into the potential FERPA violation mentioned in our public comment approximately 2 meetings ago. Any discussion, folks?
So Karen, the school would look into this and then bring it back to us in some type of closed session, I'm assuming, if there is something that the governing council needs to hear and make a decision on.
Yes, and I think that the school itself could do this investigation. I don't think it requires a third party to do this, but depending on
Right.
what's found, but bring it back to the board for a report, and whether or not that can be in closed session or not, I'm going to have to check. But yes, I think it should come back to the board.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll check the closed session piece if it's going to have
It
FERPA
depends,
type
I think.
information in it or corrective actions, then we need to take care of our folks, but we can certainly bring it back out of closed session and vote on whatever the corrective action is or whatever we discover on that. So that sounds very, very prudent indeed. All right.
Yeah,
Any
so I
further
guess Chairman, I think what I'm saying is it would come back to the board, but whether or not it would be closed session is what I'm not sure about.
Yes, yeah, correct. It all depends on what is discovered and if we need to protect folks'
It's a
confidentiality.
personnel matter or whatever,
Right.
yeah. Or
Correct.
yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that
If
makes
it falls
sense.
under an exemption.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And it'll all be determined on what's discovered in the investigation. So so that option is definitely open. All right. Any further discussion, fellow board members?
Yes, Chair Molina,
Yes, ma'am.
I asked who seconded the motion?
I did.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, then, without further ado, Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to establish an investigation into the potential FERPA violation mentioned during the public comment 2 meetings ago?
Yes, sir. Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Aaron Hamilton,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney. Aye.
Outstanding. It passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Jake, let me know what you need from me with regards to getting that established, if you need anything from me. All right. So, gang, because we are, and it may be self-imposed under a microscope, I'm pretty sure we're not being overly cautious, is to establish 3 committees. Now, we are such a small board. A subcommittee could be a subcommittee of 1, but it cannot exceed 2. Otherwise, we have a quorum, and that gets messy very quickly. So the first one is the audit committee. That committee is temporary, but it's always needed because we have our financial audit every single year. So do we need a vote on that? It's sort of a quasi-standing, quasi-ad hoc committee. Do we need a vote on that, or do we just acknowledge the fact that we're in audit season and we have a committee established, and that Aaron would very much like to be on that committee, which I don't believe requires a vote, does it? Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
historically, we have actually
have
designated
we?
the members of the committee because the
Yeah.
audit committee is required by statute. So you are
Right.
required to have 2 board members, a community member, parent, as well as your head administrator and school business official. We do have a community member and a parent on the committee already.
Mhm.
I assume we can have more, or I'm not sure if both of them are actively participating. I know the parent is, Monica Navarro was recently designated, and I know
Correct.
she went to the session on the entrance conference. I'm not sure about Mr. Gallegos, but did reach out to him and left a message. I haven't heard back from him. So checking in if he was still actively involved and whether or not he attended the entrance conference or was planning to attend the next one. There were 2 options. Um,
Correct.
so, um, so yes, we do, the board does designate those
Okay.
audit committee positions normally through an approval at a meeting. So I did make a link on the subcommittees of what's currently, but of course we'll be changing our school business official. We may still need somebody from Axiom around audit stuff, but we will be having obviously somebody from the VHIL group for the school business official. And I don't know that there's any reason we couldn't have extra members. I just know that there's a
No.
6-member requirement.
Right. No, I don't think there's any prohibition to that. So if Aaron would like to stay involved in that, then by all means, we should absolutely do that. So it
Perfect.
looks like we need to vote on adding a representative from the VHIL group. Can we just put on the audit committee table that I see on my screen, the VHIL group, or do we have to have a name there?
I think it's fine to put, obviously we need the
Okay.
VHIL group.
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be Justine. I'm about 95% sure it'll more than likely be Justine. But I think if we put in there the VHIL group, representative from the VHIL group, then that allows her and her husband and anybody else they have on staff to join in. So I move to approve the Financial Audit Committee membership to include the Governing Council President, the Governing Council Secretary, Aaron Hamilton as a community member, Jerry Gallegos as a community member, Ms. Monica Navarro as a parent, Mr. Jake Colander as our head administrator, the VHIL group and the Axiom group with Katie Rarick, and our Director of Compliance, Karen Warner, to constitute that audit committee. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Any further discussion or interest from anyone else who wants to play on? Heather, you can't. I'm sorry. We already have 2 board members on there, but that's okay. I have a different committee that I'm hoping
I know.
you will serve on. So any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I think for me, and we might have to check the statute. You might have to list me as a parent because I am a parent of children that attend Explore Academy.
Okay.
I don't think I'd change that just for the statute's sake. I think a community member is supposed to be someone that's like not associated with the school at all.
You might be right about that.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
I'll
Well,
double check because I'm kind of worried about whether Mr. Gallegos is actively involved. But
okay,
Oh,
right,
okay.
we'll make note that you're a parent as well.
cool.
I'm not planning on pulling my kids out, so
Thank
yeah.
you.
So
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Aaron. And that's why we want you on the committee. Thank you. And you will be missed. Well, then, if there's no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to establish our financial audit committee to include the governing council chair, the governing council secretary, Aaron Hamilton as a parent/community member, Mr. Jerry Gallegos as a community member, Ms. Monica Navarro as a parent, Mr. Jake Colander as our head administrator, Carrie Rarick as our Axiom manager, and a representative from the V Hill Group to be our acting or our current SBO, and Ms. Karen Warner, our Director of Compliance.
Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Aaron Hamilton,
I
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right. Thank you all very much. On to our second committee, which will start with a member of one. So I meant to look at our bylaws today and I forgot. I ran out of time. Can the governing council chair appoint folks, or do the people have to be voted onto the committee? So can we just vote on creating the committee and the governing council chair appoint? Or do we have to vote the members on the committee as well as creating the committee?
I think for your finance and audit committees, since they're by statute, I think those two require board approval, but let me check on your bylaws. I think I looked at that before. I don't remember what it said,
I don't remember. I looked.
but
I just don't remember.
I'm looking at it right now. But meanwhile, your finance committee also has requirements, and those are 2 board members, head administrator, school business official at a minimum. So because that's by statute, I think it's similar to the audit in that you should vote. We had voted before that it was a committee of the whole, which I understand you're still going to present, but you want to do a little more digging. And I think it's appropriate then to treat it like the statute required finance committee
All
and
right.
vote for that one. But I have committee assignments and chairs shall be determined by action of the council, provided that at least one council member shall serve on each committee. Standing committees of the council shall include a finance and audit. That's because those are required by law. But it says that committee assignments and chairs shall be determined by action of the council. We might want to look at revisiting that, like maybe the chair needs to be done by the committees. But right now, as it stands, committee assignments and chairs shall be determined by action of the council
Okay.
with at
Very
least
good.
one council member on each committee.
Very good. So having said that, I move to approve the creation of a standing finance committee, not to be confused with the audit committee, to include the governing council chair, another board member who may be joining us this evening, Mr. Jake Colander as our head administrator, a representative from the V Hill Group, and Ms. Karen Warner, our director of compliance. That is the motion. A second, please.
Second.
I can second that.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Heather. She
I'll
beat
third it.
third it. Aye. Well, we've got
I can withdraw Aaron if you really want.
all right, very good. And I suppose if we're going to be official, we can vote on adding the other board member in August, which would be fine. All right, very good. Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? What I will do is with the vehicle group, set out some committee member expectations, they won't be heavy. They're not going to be crazy, not so heavy. But I think the committee members need to understand what is being asked of them with regards to looking at our financial health and well-being. So I'm going to discover that with the V Hill group so that we have and the committee member meetings might be via email. I mean, it could just be us reviewing things and maybe having a quick meeting before the meeting or during the week or whatnot. I don't want it to be laborious, but I certainly do want us to be asking the right questions, knowing what the answers mean, and then knowing what to do with those answers moving forward. So I will definitely start creating that with Justine and company. So again, I value all of your time and I want to make sure that we're using your time wisely and to a benefit to you and the school ultimately. So any
Hey,
further
Melina,
discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to let you know that there are some, I don't know, I assume it'll be similar with the V Hill group, but I know that Mr. Colander has regular meetings with the finance folks. So hopefully we can kind of incorporate that into the same,
Sure, sure. I know a lot of
I don't know.
his discussions are typically budget wise on finding money here and moving money there and whatnot. From a finance committee perspective, is making sure that we've we are taking care of any previous audit findings and making sure that we're doing appropriate internal audits along the way to make sure that the next time we come around, we're not having one, a repeat of anything, and two, a minimal number of any findings. So I don't want to encroach on Jake's budgetary meetings that he may have frequently with now going forward the V Hill group on bars and all of that. But really from that financial health piece and making sure we don't end the year, even if it was an administratively um, documented issue that had us red one year, which was, if you remember, that was last year, last year, that we were red for a minute and then we were fine. But it was that whole quagmire that I'd like to avoid because they nailed us on that one at the PEC, and rightly so. It was that's not a slam on the PEC. They did their homework, and thank you for taking such diligence and care into us standing up there. So I just want to make sure that we're square, tight, and hard.
And I do think that your audit committee, to that end, that's partly the audit committee's responsibility. And I think we should schedule audit committee meetings between the exit conference and the end of the school year, as opposed to just entrance and exit.
Right.
Really, audit committees should be meeting regularly for that exact purpose that you
Ooh,
described in terms of
yeah.
making sure findings aren't repeated.
The last two, this last audit, we actually had two meetings in between those.
Yeah, but even after the exit interview, your audit committee should be
Oh
following
yes,
up.
yeah, 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 for sure. Agreed, agreed. I think we have some fine tuning to do with that whole process. So this will be a good year to really dial it in, get it smart, get it appropriate, so that we can demonstrate that not only do we just put a committee together, but we know what we're doing and can execute some changes as needed. So that is on the target list. So thank you very much. Yeah, I'm glad everybody's got their eye on the ball. Any further discussion, fellow board members? Very well. Then, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the development of a standing finance committee to include the governing council chair, another board member to be determined in our August meeting, Mr. Jay Colander, our head administrator, a representative from the V Hill Group, and Karen Warner, our director of compliance.
Yes, sir. Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Aaron Hamilton,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. The last committee that I would like to propose is a facilities committee, and I'll explain that after I move to create a facilities committee, which will be temporary. It will not be a standing committee, but I move to approve the creation of a facilities committee to oversee the gym reconstruction and future. I had all this written down. Let me see. Do I have it? I'm sorry. I move to approve the creation of a subcommittee to review and understand facilities projects, including the gym construction process. I knew I wrote it down somewhere. A second, please.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Miss Dottie. So here's the idea, gang. I think we need a little bit more visibility into the gym reconstruction and getting that buttoned up. We heard an update tonight, but I think we need to be a little bit more tuned in. Especially now that we've got folks signing dotted lines and putting money in an escrow account and then putting out for bid the reconstruction of that. I would like to be better involved. And Dottie brought a great point up a few meetings ago with regards to the kitchen construction, and that she had some very valuable insight that could have saved us some money in that process. So this committee would help marshal some of those resources in making sure that we're moving along prudently. So I would like to nominate in this committee, in this vote, Dottie to be one of two committee members, and I would like to recommend Heather Anderson to play along as well, if you are so inclined. But that would be that. And then as our enrollment cap increases, we want to move our elementary school numbers a little bit higher to service. So one of our arguments to the PEC was we had 600 applications and could only accept 13 of them last year. So we'd like to get some headroom increase on the K-5 side as well. And that may indeed require us to look at other facility options outside of masthead. So those would be the two charters, if you will, for this short-term subcommittee. Thoughts?
Are we going to add any other personnel from Explore Academy itself? Like
Yeah,
I think Jake should be on there,
Yeah.
and then maybe someone else that heads up facilities. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember names here, but
yeah,
Ralph-
Jake for sure. Jake for sure has to be on there. And who is our facilities guru? Is it
Ralph.
Ralph? I think I was gonna
Ralph.
say Randy, but it didn't sound right. Ralph, yes.
What's his title? What's his name and title, full name?
Ralph Lovato, and he's the director of facility.
Would it also be prudent to have a parent on the committee? I am a parent, but if as a board member, I don't know if I can wear both hats.
I think you probably could wear both hats. If we could
Okay.
find an interested parent to serve, that would be great. But for the
I'm
short term,
happy to do both. I just want to make sure that it's possible for me to wear both.
yeah, that shouldn't be, I don't see that as a conflict. But if there's another parent out there who's really, really interested in that activity because they bring some sort of skill to the table, then let's bring them in. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So fantastic. Well, very good. Thank you all. The cool part is all these committees that Jake's being voted onto are things he's already doing. This is just codifying it really. So believe it or not, we're not adding to his workload, I think.
I'll hold you to that.
Well, then, if there's no further discussion, Ms. Duddy, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the creation of a facilities subcommittee to review and understand facilities projects, including the gym construction process?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Aaron Hamilton,
aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. More to come. More to come. More to come. This will be the first one that Explore Academy has ever had that I'm aware of. So we'll more than likely will create OKRs for the finance committee and this facility subcommittee as well, so that we know what the heck we're meeting about, right? Why are we here? So we'll get those created with the committee. Very good. Thank you all. I don't know of any other subcommittees we need to create at the moment. I think we're doing just fine. So
I think
thank
Karen
you
had a
all.
comment.
Yes, ma'am, she does.
Just a question. So I'm assuming that on future agendas, I should just have a section for subcommittee report outs with each of
Yep.
these subcommittees.
Yeah, even if they don't have
Um,
anything to report out, then they can just say no report.
Yeah, because like the audit committee won't really be able to report till it's published, but
Correct. In
yeah,
March. Yep. But the
yeah.
finance committee and the facilities committee can certainly have a kind of a fixed agenda item on our agenda, even if they have nothing new to report, then that's the report, nothing new to report. Very good.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So, this is going to be rather self-serving. Item C. So, as you all know, this is Aaron's last board meeting with us. He has demands that are exceeding his capability to serve on this board to his satisfaction. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your 2 years on this board. It felt like one. It has flown by. So, thank you for 2 awesome years. We're looking forward to having you on the audit committee as well. So thank you for staying involved there. Hopefully that won't impede on what you've got going on professionally as well. Congratulations on those accomplishments in the real world, so to speak. So thank you so very much. You will be missed, but you won't be far. So that's
Thank you for letting me serve. I
oh my
appreciate it.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
I've learned so much. It's kind of changed the way that I view things. And I'm already an auditor, so it's
Yeah.
kind of messed up the way I view things anyways, but
Well, thank you, Aaron, so much for all your participation and support.
Yeah. In the car, on the road, hotel rooms.
You
yeah,
all,
I'm in
Changing.
Houston right now, so still at the office in Houston. So.
well,
Oh
thank
my gosh.
you.
So again, yeah, you're no, we've never doubted your commitment ever. So thank you so much. The next item is rather self-serving. It's my renewal of being on the board. So I will entertain a motion because it would be super self-serving if I moved to approve me. So
Um,
yes, ma'am.
I move to renew Patrick Molina's participation on the general council for another 2-year term.
I second.
Thank you. Please don't make me second it. Awesome. A pleasure to have been of service the last 4 years and happy to do another 2-year stint. This is quite rewarding for me. And to be involved with such a high performing school, faculty, staff, and board is truly an honor and a pleasure, and one that I take very, very seriously. I know I'm self-depreciating sometimes, and I do like a good laugh every now and again, but the business of this school is near and dear to my heart. And you can thank Jake Colander because he's the one who invited me to this party 4 years ago. So you get what you pay for, Jake. All right. Any
It's a
further
volunteer
discussion?
position, right?
Say again?
I get what I pay for. It is a volunteer position.
Yeah. I need a raise. Can I move to anyway? Well, very good. If there's no further discussion about the worthiness of this humble servant, then Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to reelect Patrick Molina to serve on the Explorer Academy Governing Council for another 2-year term as outlined in our bylaws?
Yes, sir, Patrick Molina.
I think I have to abstain.
Okay, Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Aaron Hamilton,
Well, the vote comes down to me. Aye.
and Dottie McKinney. Aye.
Thank you all for your special trust and confidence, for keeping me on the board. And then here in just a few minutes, we're going to vote on our officers. We'll see how well I fare there. Very good. Thank you all again for the trust and confidence. Would like to promote Mr. Bill Brown to the panel. I have to thank Heather for recruiting this fine gentleman. His resume was a delight to read. Bill, I'm not sure you know what you're getting into. This is one of our faster moving board meetings. We're humming right along. I promised my wife I'd try to keep it at 2 hours or less, and I think we might actually hit it. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Brown to the panel. Bill, tell us a little bit about yourselves, the student that you have coming in, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been kind of fun to actually listen to the meeting as it's gone on. I enjoy the fact that it does include laughter because it would If it didn't, it would make things different. So I've been a banker for almost 20 years. I work in credit, which some people will hear underwriter for that terminology, and most people think of undertaker, but that's the other profession where people die. So yeah, my job is really to look at the financial statements for businesses, small businesses around the state, primarily here in Albuquerque. I currently work at a bank that has one branch just here in Albuquerque. It's called Main Bank. And we're just a small institution. We actually, for the first time in my career, in the last couple of years, we financed two uh, facilities for charter schools in here in town. So it's been something to get to know a little bit about the financials for charter schools, and then to kind of get my head wrapped around that, and then they've been quite the program. So it's been pretty cool to see. So I appreciate the nomination, and I appreciate Heather bringing this to my attention. So is there anything else anybody wanted to know about me?
I want to know about what you have a student coming into the school.
Oh,
Tell us a
so
little bit about grade and. Mhm.
my son Andrew, we actually have been in charter school. So my son Andrew was in first grade, or was in kindergarten when COVID hit. And then listening to APS's handle on how they wanted to handle COVID, which was effectively they wanted to dodge teaching, was kind of the way I kind of felt like it. So my son, we moved over to a school, Altura Charter School, and we worked with Altura. So I have a son and a daughter who went to Altura. Andrew just graduated from Altura, and he's starting at Explorer in 6th grade. So he's going to the 6 to 12. So he's already gotten his classes all signed up for the first term and everything. So he's pretty excited. So it's going to be new experience for all of us. So it's going to be fun.
I know Altura Prep. It's a very good school. So.
Yeah, and hearing ice station and other things, I'm like, oh yeah, Andrew gets those reports back, and so yeah, I've seen the ice station scores and other things. So yeah, he's
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Brown?
Bill, I just wanted to say hi and I'm glad you're joining us.
Thanks, Heather.
All right. If no further discussion, I move to elect Bill Brown onto the Explorer Academy Governing Council for a 2-year term as outlined in the bylaws.
I'll second.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Hamilton. We
Got one
have
in there. I beat Dottie.
we have a proper motion and second. Any further discussion with Mr. Brown before we move to a vote? All right, with no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to elect Bill Brown onto the Explorer Academy Governing Council for a 2-year term as outlined in the bylaws?
Yes, sir. Patrick Molina.
Enthusiastically, yes.
All right. Heather Anderson
Yes.
and Aaron Hamilton
Yes.
and Dottie McKinney. Yes, and welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome aboard. You now have voting rights.
So
That's dangerous.
Effective immediately. You have voting rights.
So if I
So
may, Mr. Brown, as the board liaison, I'll be sending you some paperwork that needs to be signed, and one of them needs to be notarized. And then we'll submit that packet into the Charter Schools Division as required to notify them of your designation on the board. And then you will also be required to do some introductory governing board training. So I'll send you some details on that, but the Charter Schools Division will set you up for that. It is offered through Canvas platform, so you could do it asynchronously at your leisure. And I think they'll tell you it's not too steep of a curve, but they do call it 10 hours during the first year of your board membership, and then 5 hours every year thereafter as required. I don't actually think it's going to take you 10 hours to do, but
Good.
just so you know, I will be in
You
touch
can
with
watch
some
it on
emails.
double the speed, and it actually only takes 5.
And if you ever have any questions, you'll have my email, phone number. Feel free to reach out as the liaison for the board. I'm happy to help.
Perfect.
outstanding. Thank you. Welcome aboard and congratulations, I think.
Thank you.
All right. And it is time to do our annual officer elections. Currently, our officers include yours truly as your board chair. Our vice chair slot is wide open. That was with Martha Barrera, who served several years on our council. And our current secretary is Dottie McKinney. So this is a tiny bit self-serving, but I move to elect Heather Anderson to serve as the vice chair of the Explorer Academy Governing Council.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Uh, so the role of vice chair is to do exactly what Heather's been doing all along, with one exception. That is, if I cannot attend a meeting, then her job is to run the meeting, which, believe it or not, that is the only special thing that the chair or president of a board does. My vote is no more or less important than anybody else's. I'm just the guy who kind of coordinates things and occasionally signs paperwork on behalf of the board, but nothing I sign isn't without a board approval first. So as opposed to getting all of us to sign a document, we just defer to the board president or the council chair. So that's it. So Heather, your job changes not one whole heck of a lot. And if I do plan on missing a meeting, which I think I've only missed one or two, one maybe.
Just one,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I think it was just one. I will set you up beforehand so that you can crank along. So otherwise your role really doesn't change one whole heck of a lot.
Okay.
Otherwise, other than it looks really cool on a resume, right? Vice chair. So, and when I did the charter school conference, I talked about board roles and responsibilities and all of that. And that's a line right off of my slide. Is it looks really cool on a resume, but it's the easiest gig on a governing council. The most challenging one by far is Dottie's as secretary. That one you are working your butt off, followed by distantly by the governing chair, because I just have to make the motions and all that magical stuff happen and keep everybody in line. So Dottie by far has the heaviest lift of all of the officers. So any further discussion about bringing Heather Anderson on to serve as our vice chair? Well, before anybody does say anything, I will ask Dottie to conduct a roll call vote to elect Heather Anderson to serve as the vice chair of the Explorer Academy Governing Council.
Yes, sir. Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Aaron Hamilton,
Aye.
Dottie McKinney, aye, and Heather Anderson.
This one I should abstain from, probably, yes.
All right. And Mr. Bill Brown.
And Mr. Bill Brown. Excuse me, Bill.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Vice Chair. Stick that on your resume without delay. And that one was not the self-serving one. This next motion is just a tiny bit self-serving. So currently Dottie McKinney is serving as our secretary. And believe it or not, via a conversation we had earlier today, she's willing to continue in the role. And
Thank you, Dottie.
and
You
I
have-
have
Oh, I'm sorry.
say again. No, please continue.
I do have to say that I can't tell you how much support I do get from Karen during the meeting when we do have a difficult motion or it's something that I don't quite understand. She can step in and help me with the language and then, the nomenclature or whatever it needs to be. So I have to tip my hat to Karen for all her help. So thank you. That's my nominate, that's my speech and I'm sticking to it. Okay.
Thank you, Dottie, but it's very unnecessary. You do a great job. I just try to help where I can.
And I've been honored to serve as your chair for 3 of my 4 years. My first year was as secretary. So, Bill, I got voted on to join the board, followed by being the secretary. I got voted on to be the secretary right there and then.
Same day.
So I was the secretary for the first year, and then I've been the governing council chair for the last 3, and I'm more than happy to serve as your chair for the next year. But if somebody else would like to do that, you are certainly welcome to nominate. Well, then, having said that, I move to reelect Dottie McKinney as the secretary and Patrick Molina as the chair of the Explorer Academy Governing Council. That's the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Miss Heather. Any further discussion? Good, because I don't want Dottie to say anything. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to reelect Dottie McKinney as the secretary and Patrick Molina as the chair of the Explorer Academy Governing Council?
Yes, Patrick Molina.
I think I have to vote yes, because it's you.
Okay. Heather Anderson,
Yes for both.
Bill Brown,
Yes.
Aaron Hamilton,
I and I.
and I vote aye for Mr. Molina and abstain for myself.
Very good. Thank you all again for your trust and confidence. I will continue
I don't
to.
think that's
What?
point of order. I think, Dottie, I think you have to just vote aye because it was one motion.
It's
So
one
if
motion.
you want to abstain, we have to separate them. But
All right.
Sorry,
honestly,
I
you
shouldn't have
guys,
done the joke. I
No,
shouldn't
no,
have
no.
made the
It was
joke.
beautiful. I loved it. I
it's
loved it.
okay. I just think it's an aye. I don't see, I mean, if you were running for a political election, you would go vote for yourself. So it's perfectly fine
Okay.
to vote for yourself. I don't think
Cool.
that you need to abstain. I just think it's better in the minutes if you just have an aye.
All right.
It's combined. as a
All right.
motion.
I'll withdraw my abstaining and vote aye for the slate as
All
stated.
right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So your officers are Patrick Molina, Dottie McKinney, and Heather Anderson as your officers. Welcome aboard, everybody. Well, welcome aboard, Heather. Very good. And finally, we do have to do this once a year. So I move to approve the 2025-2026 Open Meetings Act resolution as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Miss Heather. It's there to read. I don't believe I saw a single change in that resolution, but we are required to every year to vote on that. If for no other reason, to remind us of what our obligations are to the Open Meetings Act.
The only change I made, Chair Molina, was the date of the meeting
Oh,
and the
right, yeah,
year.
yeah,
But
obviously.
of course, this is an opportunity if the second Tuesday is not conducive to board members. This is an opportunity to change your meeting date if you so desired.
I don't want to be in until 29, 26. I'm just that I think you have 900 years of term.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Let's fix that.
That's a good catch.
I'm just that's my recommendation.
oh my gosh. Trouble
Where
It's
is
nearly
it?
a millennia.
Oh, at the top. Oh, yeah. You can't ever leave. Okay. I think I
That's what
got
we
that
should have done
fixed
for
now.
Aaron and Martha. Dang it. Well, Bill, you're proving to be sharper than Heather let on. So thanks. Just
Wait a
kidding.
second.
All right. Good catch. Good catch. Very good. All right. Any other changes to the document, gang? Well, then, Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the 2025-2026 Open Meetings Act resolution as presented and corrected?
Yes, Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Aaron Hamilton,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Outstanding. Thank you all very, very much. Well done. We can report that to PEC. I think we have to do a little reporting to them, right, Karen?
I don't
Do we
think
have
I
to tell?
do actually, but I will be posting it on the website and sometimes they check. So
Yep. And it's part of our agenda every meeting anyway. So very good. All right. I'd like to open it up for any board comments. Wide open for any board comments, announcements, updates, anything.
Once again, thank you
Oh,
for letting me be
Aaron.
part of the board. Appreciate it.
Well,
And thank you for letting me serve on the audit committee. I think that's
yeah,
more kind of
yeah.
my skill set anyways. So
I had my fingers crossed that you would be willing to do that. So thank you very much. Bill, normally during the school year, we do have not every meeting, but frequently a spotlight presentation, either from a faculty member or from students. And I'm not shy about saying it is my absolute favorite part of these meetings, and one of the reasons I come back, because it's so awesome to see what's going on in the classroom from the faculty perspective and the student perspective. Favorite part. And the business that we do here is truly serious. but you got to laugh along the way sometimes. Otherwise, it just gets too sad. So I will pick on me first and foremost. I am self-depreciating all the time. I will drag Jake into it only because we've known each other for so long that usually what I say about myself will apply to Jake, although he's much better at what he does than I do. So, but Jake and I have gone back a whole lot of years, Um, but welcome aboard. And Aaron, again, thank you so much for your service. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any other board comments before we move into public comments? Very good. Then we are into the public comment section on any topic not on this evening's agenda. We do have one person in our attendees panel. Miss Natalie, if you would like to raise your hand to make a public comment, this is your opportunity to do so. And we'll give you an opportunity to find that button because it disappears on your screen. It's along the bottom. No thanks. All right. Thank you, Miss Natalie. So glad you were here. Hopefully this was a good use of your time. With that, I will adjourn this evening's meeting at an amazing 7:25. Thank you all very much. Our next meeting is Tuesday, August 12th at 5:30 in this same format.